Welcome back to Inside City Hall. In about 2 weeks, voters in Brooklyn's 43rd Assembly District will head to the polls to vote in a special election to fill the vacant seat formerly held by Kareem Kamara. The 43rd District includes parts of Crown Heights and Prospect Lefferts Gardens. It's home to over 120,000 residents, including a large Orthodox Jewish population, as well as many residents with ties to the Caribbean. And it has seen increasing amounts of change in recent years, experiencing gentrification and an ongoing conversation over development, which has turned heated at times. Tonight we have 3 of the candidates running for that office. Diana Richardson is running on the Working Families Party line. Jeffrey Davis is running on the Love Yourself Party ballot line. And Menachem Mendy-Raport is running on the Republican and Conservative Party lines. There's a 4th candidate named Shirley Patterson who will be on the ballot. We repeatedly invited her to appear tonight, but her campaign finally told us that she is unable to make it work with her schedule. And so, a brief word about the rules for tonight's debate. There will be no opening statements. Each candidate will have a chance to give a short 45-second closing statement, however, and each candidate will also have a chance to ask one other candidate a question. So let's get to it. And we'll start with you, Jeffrey Davis. What's the first bill you would introduce as a member of the Assembly, and why?
Well, the first bill I would introduce as a member of the Assembly, there's a lot of oversaturation in the East Flatbush section of Brooklyn. So we would have to, with the mentally ill, the partial mentally ill, they're trying to build a lot of things, homeless shelters and so forth, in the East Flatbush section of Brooklyn. So I would jump on that. That's very important. I'm also the ambassador at Kingsbrook Jewish Medical Center for Health and Wellness. So I would deal with some health issues with the mentally ill, because there's a lot of stigma on that. And then I also address violence, of course. So there are a number, but that oversaturation for social service programs in a particular area, where the city of New York should take more responsibility as opposed to putting it in one area.
Okay, Mr. Raport, same question.
It's very simple. They are putting up now, where there used to be what was known as the G building, they're putting up a building which is going to house a lot of mentally handicapped people without supervision. That's something which is very frightening if you think about it. People who are not supervised and don't take their medication go out in the street and cause trouble. That's not something anybody wants. They can hurt themselves, they can harm somebody else. That's one issue. Another thing is, we have a lot of people that they want to move into the neighborhood. How? Where? We're overcrowded as is. We're going to bring more people in. First, we have to help people who don't have money to pay for now. We need low-income housing, middle-income housing. We need to take care of that now. What I would propose when I get into Assembly, first thing I would actually jump on is the Blaine Amendment to help charter schools, to help the religious schools, to help all the schools. We have to focus on education. If we're not going to take care of education, we're going to have problems with kids getting jobs. They don't have jobs, leads them to crime and violence and drugs. So we have to start at the base with education.
Okay, very good. Diana Richardson, first bill if you are elected.
Errol, thank you so much for having me on this evening. I'm running because I'm a product of this community, and I've seen a lot of changes over the last few years that are not to our benefit. One of the first pieces of legislation I would introduce would be tougher rent laws and with more tenant protections. Right now, we have a lot of people in the community who are being displaced and pushed out of the community, and housing is a crisis and people need assistance.
Okay, you know what, for all of you, and you can answer in any particular order. The fact is, the city has been talking about rezoning part of the area, especially along Empire Boulevard. It has generated a lot of discussion, some of it heated at times. Where would you stand in that conversation, and how would you help to direct it? What do you want to see as the outcome here?
Contextual zoning. There's too much zoning. We want contextual zoning. I was aggressively involved at the community board meeting. Initially, I was here on this show back in September, bringing attention and awareness to give more power to the people, so the people can have more of a voice. I was aggressively involved in that, and we won that. We rescinded the votes so that the people can have more say in that study planning. So we want contextual zoning. If there's zoning, it has to be contextual. We don't want sky rises. And we want affordable housing as well. It's very important to have affordable housing, not 80-20. I like that to be the other way around, 80 affordable, 20 where the developers make their money, but 80% affordable.
Okay.
I can't argue. We do need more housing. Again, affordable housing. If we don't have middle-income housing, that's what our neighborhood is comprised of. If we take a look at the geographic nature of our neighborhood, most of the people are middle-income people. We can't push them out. I mean, yes, people want to have fancy houses. That's all fine and well. Put up houses, sky rises, no place for it. People want to have fresh air. You want to put up housing? I believe 60-40 is a reasonable number that the landlord should be able to make back his money that he put in to develop the place, but at the same time, leave at least 60% for the low and middle income housing. Also,
and Diana Richardson, you were a member of Community Board 9 as all of this was going on.
Yes, and I'm still a member of Community Board 9 today, Errol. And I've been on the Community Board for the last 4 years, so I know how we got where we are today, where the zoning study is concerned. 626 Flatbush Avenue is a luxury development that went up, that got the 421A tax abatement, 80/20, most of it is luxury housing, and they're using the AMI of New York City, which is $75,000, which is not reflective of the community's median income of $45,000. Therefore, there's no real pathway to get into the affordable units. Currently, a studio in 626 Flatbush Avenue is costing $1,800. No one can afford that. How can any working family afford that?
So now what should happen on Empire Boulevard when they're talking about sort of changing some of the zoning to build more housing, either similar to 626 or different?
We got into the zoning study to down zone. Currently on Flatbush Avenue, we have a zone of R71A that's also running down Nostrand Avenue as well. Empire Boulevard is zone C82. So currently a hotel can be built on Empire Boulevard without any height limitation. These are the kind of things that we do not want to happen to our community, which is why we engaged the Department of City Planning to start the zoning study to down zone.
But
yes.
I'm very concerned about this now, because Berlin Rosen, let's talk about Berlin Rosen real quick. Berlin Rosen is a founding partner of the Working Families Party, who are not registered as a lobbyist, but as a public relations company. Now, they do business with Caprini, who is a partner at Domino's Sugar Company, who is also a lobbyist of Hudson. Hudson is the company that built 626. So now when we say that we don't want certain things, we got to look at, is the Working Families Party a part of the gentrification if you look into it from Berlin Rosen's standpoint? So we've got to get into it. Berlin Rosen is not listed as a lobbyist. They're listed as a public relation company, and they do business with Calipini, right? Calipini is the lobbyist for the Hudson who helped put that building there, 626 Flatbush Avenue, Hudson, to make it there. So what are we talking here? So this is just a new guard from the old guard of what Shirley Patterson and Littman is doing.
Let's go a little further. I mean, you raised some issues about who wants what in this whole rezoning conversation. We know that there have also been incidents related to this whole conversation that have been kind of raucous, a little out of bounds in many people's opinion, driving people apart in a community that has had its share of division between its black and Jewish residents. So putting aside or maybe putting it in the context of this conversation, what specific things would you do to help bring people together? I mean, that's a permanent need that stands outside and apart from all of the rezoning discussions. Let's start with you.
Well, in regards to the Jewish-black issue, we don't have an issue. As far as I'm concerned, we've been living together for many years. Yes, you hear some incidents that happen, but that's because wherever you go, you're always going to have a few little troublemakers who cause trouble and bring the media in. But as a general rule, we've always gotten along between each other. I've known the black neighborhood for years. I've gone amongst them. I've walked through the neighborhood. I've never had an issue. They've never had an issue with us. So it's not.
Would you agree, though, as a member of the Assembly, as an elected official, you'd have more than a passive role in trying to make sure that relations stay stable, if you think that they are?
Yes, I would. I would make sure that we'd have meetings together, keep things together. Richard Green is a friend of mine. We'd get together. I have no problem sitting down at a table with anybody and working things through.
We need community dialogue where everyone is coming together and sharing their point of views openly without anyone attacking anybody. There are different divides in our community. We have lines that divide districts that are invisible, and we have other different kind of divides. What I would do as a legislator is open up the forum for dialogue where people can talk. I think a lot of the tensions happen because people do not know who each other are. And then there's a lot that goes into silence. So we need kind of family-friendly events and things where we celebrate each other's culture and get to understand who we all are.
Earl, we've been holding these numerous functions for the last 20 years, my brother and I, Councilman James E. Davis, bringing healing to our community through peace walks, through basketball tournaments with Richard Green, through countless programs. In fact, you and I have walked with Chanel Petro-Nixon for the last 5, 6, 7 years to bring attention to her murder. She was found in a garbage can on, her body was found in a garbage can on Kingston Avenue and Sterling Place, and we've been doing it every Father's Day through the works of Tahaka. I didn't see any of you guys there, incidentally, but this is very important that we continue to do this in our community. So we've been doing cultural programs. Well, my house, I renamed it the James E. Davis Multicultural Museum of Peace after my brother, where we opened the door. We've been having countless programs. I got the Grand Ribby picture on the wall, bringing people in on a regular basis. So we've been having these dialogues, but we've got to fix up the dysfunctional CB9. It's a mess. People are getting arrested on a continuous basis. The chair just stepped down. Diana, you just stepped down from the treasurer, and we've got to discuss that too.
Let me address that.
Let's do that after a short break. We're going to have more of this debate when we return, and I promise you, you'll have a chance to get into that issue. Later on tonight, we've got more on the agenda. We'll be talking presidential politics and Mayor de Blasio's trip to the Midwest with 4 top strategists in our Monday Consultants Corner. Stay with us. We are back inside City Hall holding a debate for the race in the 43rd Assembly District, a special election that will be decided on May 5th. We have Diana Richardson, Jeffrey Davis, and Menachem Mendy Raport. You brought up the fact that Diana Richardson had resigned from the as treasurer of Community Board 9.
Yes.
I wanted to give you a chance to briefly respond.
Thank you so much, Errol. I recently resigned as treasurer of Community Board 9 with 15 days left in the special election. It's important that the board is able to do their work without me. And let me say this, I've completed all of my duties. Section 7.4 of the Community Board bylaws state that the treasurer has to do a financial report yearly. I've done 2 in the last year, and that was 2 more that the board had in the 7 previous years. So I've done more than enough, and I'm confident that my job has been done. Any Community Board 9 member can attest to that, and it's also public record.
Because the Community Board is so dysfunctional, where a lot of votes was 1 minute they vote 10 votes, and then next you know when they do an investigation, there's 8 votes. My concern is that as a treasurer, now, with the dysfunction of the Community Board, as a treasurer, that's a very powerful position. So what we need to do is open up the books now. Since you stepped down, the Treasury books, and there should be transparency to the Community Board and the community. We should see where this money is going.
You know what? We can solve that right now. You say you've done reports as required.
In January of 2014 and October of 2014.
Those are publicly available?
Publicly available.
Okay, asked and answered. We said that we would allow each of you to ask one other person here a question. We'll start with you, Mendy.
Okay, Diane. You spent approximately $3,000, close to $3,000 on petitions. You hired people. None of them are people who live in the community. Where are these petitions? What are these petitions all about? I mean, according to your own records.
Okay, we'll give her a chance to answer. I've seen it.
Thank you so much for that question. As you are well aware, when the governor called the special election, it was in turmoil what would happen with the Democratic Party line, as well as other endorsements. I then created my own line and started to petition for that. But in the middle of that, I was proudly endorsed by the Working Families Party, so I opted to take the Working Families Party's line, and I just did not file those petitions. And I'm proud to also tell you that I'm endorsed by 1199, 32BJ, DC 37TWU, UAW, CSA, and I'm very, very proud. Thank you for the question.
Okay, your question.
My question is, now that we know that Berlin Rose is affiliated with the Hudson, the development of the Hudson and gentrification, and they're the founding members of the Working Families Party. And we know that they're not listed as lobbyists, but public relations company, and they work with, I'm not pronouncing right, Capellini, and they work with Capellini with the Domino Sugar plant. And Capellini is the lobbyist for Hudson, helped build Hudson. Now that you know the Working Families Party is behind that, that means that they're actually behind the gentrification. That means that they're behind the development that's taking place in our community. That's the Working Families Party is behind it.
Jeffrey, I'm proud to be endorsed by the Working Families Party because they fight for issues that everyday New Yorkers go through. We want good public schools. We want real affordable housing. And my campaign is being ran with the highest ethical standards.
But what about the gentrifiers? So they built Hudson. You have a picture of, wait, let me see. You have a picture of Hudson right here. This is Hudson Development. right? This is Hudson. Rosen and Berlin and Rosen is a part
You guys agreed not to bring in props and stuff.
No,
so
Berlin and Rosen is a part of that development.
Put it away.
Now you're saying that you don't want 421A, but Berlin and Rosen is a part of that development. See, so they're putting, see, what I'm saying is this, Diana, and perhaps you didn't know, too many years that there's organizations that are saying, we're not affiliated with that, we're not affiliated with that, but when you dig a little deeper, then you realize that they are affiliated with that. In fact, they're behind it. Berlin, Rosen, Earl did a story right here. They are behind that development that's taking place on 626.
My campaign has not taken one penny from developers.
They are the founding partners of the
report is right here. The report is right here.
No, what I'm saying is they're the founding partners.
Thank you so much for your question.
Right, they're the founding partners of the Working Families Party, Berlin Rosen, which is a lobbyist for the Hudson.
We get the question, you got the answer.
There's a story on your one right here, Earl.
We're going to move.
They're the lobbyists.
Believe me, I know all about that.
They're the lobbyists for Hudson.
You get a chance to ask a question
displace people.
of one of the candidates.
Jeffrey,
yes.
I respect your message, but many people in the community have called into question your history and accusations of domestic violence and stalking. As the mother of a young son and a domestic violence survivor, how do you square your message of nonviolence with the community at large?
It's been heartbreaking. That rumor has been, I mean, anytime you're in the forefront, actually getting a job done, taking care of business in the community, dealing with education, housing, violence, and so many things, supporting artists, you're a target. These are heartbreaking rumors about my character, but I didn't let it stop me. I still was awarded my honorary doctorate just last month. I still got my master's degree in human resource management. I didn't let it stop me. I still built the James E. Davis Stop Violence Foundation. So these accusations and rumors against me is heartbreaking, but they're false entirely. In fact, we hold domestic violence programs at Kingsbrook Jewish Medical Center on a regular basis, where I'm the ambassador of health and wellness.
But there have been reports, not of rumors, but of you being charged.
Charged but not convicted. In fact, the person that charged me with this is the treasurer for Shirley Patterson's campaign right now. These are political hits that I didn't see growing up because I took time out to learn as an activist the community. And then early on, I was kind of young at it, and I was a little bit not as mature. But now that I have an understanding, I haven't talked to that woman in about 10 years. 8 years, once I realized that was a political hit against my assassination, a political hit on my character. But certainly those are charges, not convictions. I never had a felony. I've never been in prison. And we have one of the NYPD is the finest police department, and we have the best district attorney in Ken Thompson. If it was true, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Okay, we're going to leave that there. Let's ask. I think we can get in one more question before closing statements. Following a string of scandals in Albany, there have been a lot of proposals for reform. One of the proposals is to make serving in the Assembly a full-time job, perhaps with an increase in income, but a prohibition or some serious restrictions on other outside income. What do you make of that, and would you support that if you end up in Albany?
What do I make of it? It's up to each individual business. It depends what type of business the person is in. For myself, I have a small business, private, it's a family-run business. I would step out of it. I'd let my children take over, and I would put my time full into Albany. If it's a big corporation that we have to worry about that there's going to be some pandering or something illegal, possibly, so then the person has to recuse himself totally. Mm-hmm. It all depends on the situation. We can't, it's not a one-size-fits-all. We have to see what's in it.
Errol, serving in the New York State Assembly is a full-time job. Yes, half of the time we're up in Albany creating legislation and impacting lives, but then when we come back to the district, we have to serve the constituency. So I would definitely support such a reform.
Jeff?
Well, you have to have, it has different hats. It's a multi-task position, so you have to understand that you have a constituency that's in Brooklyn, a constituency that's in Albany, so it is a full-time job, but you have to wear different hats, so you can't step down from one area to concentrate on another area. You have to have the capacity and leadership to do all areas, and that's very, very important.
So you would vote for it to be a full-time job?
Yes.
Okay. Closing statements, we said 45 seconds. It's less than a minute, so that just means real fast. We'll start with you, Benny.
Okay, my name is Nachum Report. I'm a family man, a small business owner. I have a family of 8 children, and I look to see what we can do to make our district a better place to live. I want affordable housing, that our kids should be able to live there. I want that it should be safe streets, we should be able to go there. I want education. And if we have proper education, and not just for me and for you, but for our kids and for our grandkids, then they'll be able to afford proper jobs, afford proper housing, and be able to stay in the community and live on in the community happily.
Okay, Diana.
Members of the 43rd Assembly District, now is the time that we have real representation in Albany. Now is the time for us to have family-friendly policies where we can get ahead. On Tuesday, May 5th, vote for me, Diana Richardson, on the Working Families Party line. It's time for us to stick together.
My name is Jeffrey Davis. I've been a community activist for 25 years, 12 years in the limelight supporting you, and I thank everyone for your support. We've done pre-GED classes. We've marched against violence down Nostrand Avenue. We've done hunger strikes addressing homelessness. We've done countless things, again, health and wellness. We're aggressively, because it's a faith-based community, investing in the investment tax credit. We want that investment tax credit. That's very important. So we turned our house into a museum. We've done all that we can do to improve. So we're not going to, we have been. The reason that Crown Heights is one of the best places in the world to live is because of myself and people like Earl and countless people like Richard Green and Tahaka Robinson and Sonny Carson and countless people and Kanina Sperlin and Rabbi Gross and so many people in the community. Sam Stern, Yossi Stern. We've came together as a community to make it better. When there was a shooting inside the synagogue, we responded to it. Dove Hiking, Assemblyman Dove Hiking, we did things to tend to the community. I'm proud to be endorsed by the community, and I'm just asking for your vote so that we can continue building. Jeffrey Davis on the Love Yourself, Stop the Violence line. God bless.
Okay, I'll see you guys out there. Best of luck to everybody. And for more information about next month's special election, go to vote.nyc.ny.us. We are going to take a short break now, and straight ahead, we'll discuss the governor's trip to Cuba and more with the 4 members of our Consultants Corner. We're back in a minute.